Welcome back to Fantasy Football Fam, guys. I'm joined here once again by Tedder and Mason.
Hi,
What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in today. It was kind of a rough week for the fam this week. We all lost in our Go Deep Deep League, sadly. And it just goes to show, you can do a lot of research. You can make a fantasy show, but it doesn't make you good at fantasy football. Fantasy football's hard.
It is.
It's a hard game, but you don't give up. You keep going. You adjust your team, make some trades. We're mediocre fantasy players, but we just love the game and we want to help you if we can. And this doesn't mean we know more than you. Hopefully, you listen to what we have to say, listen to what other people have to say, but ultimately, you make your own decisions on what you think is best for your team, and that's really what fantasy football is all about.
Definitely.
yes, sir.
Yes. And this week we want to teach you about patience.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit about patience with your fantasy team.
Yeah. Which is something I struggle with, y'all. Patience is not one of my best virtues, I would say. But, week one, don't jump off the ship quite yet, right? Your studs are your studs, In a few leagues, from Mr. Benedict Arnold over here himself, I got Derrick Henry, and he did absolutely nothing for me. So do I go trade Derrick Henry, or do I say,
Back to me,
what?
yeah, go for it. Right back to me.
Derrick Henry's going to do what he does. Same thing with kind of some other guys. I'm sure you have Aaron Rodgers. Guys like that. Devontae Adams was a cause because of Aaron Rodgers. And guys like, Garrett's not going to get rid of those guys because they sucked in week one, and that's okay. Guys are going to suck in fantasy football, and they're going to bounce back. So, yeah, patience is patience is patience.
Mm-hmm.
It is. You don't want to jump to conclusions too early with your studs. I really have done that in the past and benched guys after week one, and week one is the most unpredictable week. I ran into that a few times, so I almost expect to lose week one and then worry more if week two doesn't go that well, because then you're in the whole 2 games and maybe you want to consider making some moves, but
I think week 2, week 3 is when you want to start really panicking on those people you thought were going to be good. But if they're really good players, you want to give them some time. Some of these guys didn't get a preseason.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's hard to know who the great defenses are going into the season.
That's true, yeah. And they get a long time to prepare for week 1 games.
Yep.
Week 1, they get upwards of a month. They're in training camp. And, going forward, they might have 5 days.
Yep.
They might have a week, and it's just not going to be the same. So, hopefully your studs can bounce back,
They always do.
Yeah, they do,
That's why they're considered top guys.
Right, yeah. I mean, and just look at all the great players last year. Like, almost every single one of them had a bad game, where they didn't do too good, And the ones that came out strong are going to kind of sputter at times, because they're playing that team that knows how to guard them.
Exactly.
Bit of the randomness with the guessing.
Yeah, it is, and it's just educated guesses.
Yes.
This is really what
exactly.
we're getting at.
We need to remind that our fam and ourselves that's what it is, and not be too hard on ourselves if one of the weeks doesn't go exactly as you hoped.
And, still enjoy the game. Even if you lose, and your team doesn't do as good as you want them to, just try to enjoy it, That's what we're doing this for. So, yeah, just stay patient. You got Ezekiel Elliott, Mike Evans, like he said, Derrick Henry, Saquon, although we'll see with him, but, he just got back from an injury. That whole Packers team got dominated. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Ouch.
Oh, yeah. Josh Allen didn't have that good a game, but, he's going to do better.
He was playing a good defense.
Marquez Callaway, obviously.
My guy.
The team did really good, the Saints did, but, he was facing Jair Alexander for the most part.
Yep.
He's not going to do that every week.
Tough matchup.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, even those Titans players, like A.J. Brown had a decent week, but Julio Jones, didn't really do much, but also Tannehill didn't have any time to throw the ball.
Yep.
So, got to keep that in mind. Certain people, kind of got to get acclimated. Some people are playing really good defenses, so you just got to keep that in mind.
Definitely.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about some week 1 reactions. Knee-jerk reactions really is what they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just gotta take what we can get from week 1, but don't like put all your stock in one game.
Exactly.
Get your impressions.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tedder, you want to talk about somebody you've actually talked about earlier in this year?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
A guy I'm super excited about, and I don't even think this is a knee-jerk reaction. It's a knee-jerk because I'm super excited how he played, but not a knee-jerk because I think he's going to do this all year, and that's Mr. Famous Eat a W, Jameis Winston. Went out, balled out. Passing yards, he didn't do much because he only finished with 148, which isn't a lot, but the 5 touchdowns, my goodness, and man, did he look good spinning the football.
Talk about efficiency.
Yeah, so I am super excited to watch him continue to grow as a quarterback this year. The Packers outside of Jair Alexander, a little bit, I don't want to say suspect on the back end, but, they could improve there, so I don't want to jump to it too quick. But I do think within that division, I think he's going to do really good things this year. So I really like Jameis. Moving on to another person in the NFC South, another team, was the Falcons. Man, rest in peace to the Falcons.
That was bad.
I don't know if, I want to hold out hope because I like Matt Ryan. I think he's going to eventually get it going. But for the people that own like the Calvin Ridleys and the Russell Gages and the Kyle Pitts, you worry a little bit.
Mike Davis,
yeah. You worry a little bit. I think, if they can get it going, it should be a high-flying offense. But from right now, a lot of those guys you would still consistently start, I think. But
you talk about not overreacting.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia defense could be the reason why they were held to so few yards and points.
Exactly.
So we'll see maybe next week.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna jump off the boat quite yet with the Falcons, but something to watch going forward for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe worry about it if it happens again in week 2.
Exactly. So yeah, those are my reactions as of right now.
Great. All right, and we got a couple guys over with Mason.
I indeed have some reactions off the bat. David Monty Montgomery was looking fierce.
Yeah, he was.
Workhorseman, muscles through the tackles. He's a built man. He's going to get a lot of work. And as the Bears learned, he's really the only player they can rely on when stuff hits the fan. So David, I'm really excited. I got him in a couple of my 2 of my 4 leagues. He was my guy aside from Antonio Gibson. And then we'll move over to another team. I'm the favorite of the Cardinals, and then their improvements on offense this year. Last year they did get stagnant sometimes.
Yes, they did. They
weren't as diverse. They're looking a lot more well-rounded. I think A.J. Green being there takes some of the pressure off of DeAndre, my guy, and Kyler is moving around enough and has his options with this halfback that he's really just getting open looks at those tall receivers down the field. So I'm really excited to see where they go from here.
Oh my God, DeAndre looked so good.
Yes, man.
I really liked David Montgomery's debut too because he looked both strong and fast.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want.
The league I have both of those guys on the same team. I won that one.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's my first take on how things went for some of my players. How you feeling about yours, Garrison?
A guy who I'm very interested in after this first week, Deebo Samuel. I don't know if you guys watched him, 189 yards, which is very impressive. Obviously, he's
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. He's playing the Detroit Lions, though, so you got to kind of mitigate your expectations there. That's not going to necessarily happen with some of the other better defenses. No offense, Lions fans.
He's a yacker.
He's a yacker. He's a big yak guy. He's a yak guy. I'm a big fan of him. Great player, hard runner. They have to throw to somebody, and it can't be Kittle all the time. Mm-hmm. And it seems like Ayuk might be dealing with something. He's dealing with like a hamstring. So I don't know if he's still kind of being bothered by that. He got 0 targets this last game. And so it's either the injury or he just got behind in, just like where the offense is going. It's great for Deebo's value. Unfortunately, Ayuk owners, you kind of got to worry a little bit about him. Maybe wait a couple weeks, like we said, show some patience there, see if he gets incorporated into the offense. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I also watched the Bengals players. Jamar Chase looked good. Learned how to catch some balls, it seemed. Dude does know how to catch balls.
Oh, yeah.
Saving it.
So yeah, he looked good. And then Higgins got a touchdown. I think he's still my favorite. I think Higgins is still my favorite in that wide receiver core. I think as far as floor goes, he's got the highest floor. And then ceiling, you want to go with Jamar Chase. He might get those long touchdowns, but I think T. Higgins is gonna get more consistent work, more TDs. And then Boyd kind of had a slow start, but yeah, once again, put a little patience on that. Let's see how he goes going forward. Mm-hmm. If that offense can really pull it together, there might be enough for everybody. They threw a lot last year when they had Joe Burrow. So yeah, we'll have some patience on Boyd, but I do like those other guys in Cincinnati. All right, let's go over to Tedder, and he wants to talk about a couple bucks over there. Tedder's getting buck.
I'm getting super buck, bro. Rob Gronkowski looking like the old version of himself.
Yeah.
Mr. Touchdown Gronk seen the end zone pay dirt 2 times. He warranted 8 targets, which was the second most behind Godwin. And he was 8 for 8 on those targets, so he still has those massive hands that bring in everything. Mm-hmm. And he went for 80 yards, which wasn't a bad day for the old Gronkster. So,
They put a defensive end on him for one of those touchdowns.
Yeah.
That was such a bad move there.
Yeah, so,
He
going
was kinda
forward.
automatic.
Yeah, 100%. Gronk, I think, as people think he doesn't have it anymore, I think he still does. I think he still is a matchup nightmare. He's not, a Kittle or a Kelsey or one of those guys. But
he doesn't have their speed.
He's going to warrant some targets, and he's a hard man to bring down once he catches that football.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely where they're going to be looking for him is in the red zone and those goal line.
Yeah, so
he fights in those ones.
And if we're talking about the fountain of youth, there's another player down in Tampa who looked like the old version of himself. That's Mr. Antonio Brown. Goodness gracious, 5 catches, 121 yards, and a tutty for him. Talk about another matchup nightmare guy who seems like he just, pulled it out of himself that, you know what? I'm going to be who I used to be. And that's who he's being.
I think he decided to stop freaking out and doing weird stuff on this
I think being around
football.
Tom Brady, having a coach like Bruce Arians who doesn't play no games, and, spending that offseason working on himself, I really think he did some wonders for himself.
Yeah.
And then finally, moving on to my last kind of reaction is a guy that I really enjoy. A guy that mossed me, actually, in high school. It's a story for later. But Julio Jones.
You got mossed by Julio?
Yeah, we went down to a 7-on-7 camp down in Alabama, down in Hoover, and he was there. And that was my welcome to high school football moment, was cover 2 deep middle. I was in for a sub, so I wasn't supposed to be in there. And my man would jump over the top of me, caught a ball. I was like, oh, cool. But yeah, 3 catches out of 6 targets.
You knew he was good at a young age?
Yeah, no, he was built like the Predator in high school. So it was unreal. But
I see that. Yeah, he had big, long dreads back then.
He did.
Yeah.
And he was the number 1 receiver in the nation.
Oh, wow.
Very deservingly, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 catches.
Mr. Big Deal.
6 targets. 29 yards.
He still got 6 targets though.
So he's gonna be thrown to, and I think a lot of Julio will be based off of how well Derrick Henry and the Titans run the ball.
Yeah.
Because he's like the 1.5 option. So AJ Brown I think is the top guy there for sure. But Julio, if they can get into the red zone come next Sunday, he'll see some targets, and they get the run game going off the play action. He'll see some deep throws. So
Ryan
I'm not worried about Julio
Tannehill's not on his back. 2
He hasn't
seconds.
forgotten.
Chandler
Run down
Jones
the
is eating him
sideline.
alive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about Julio quite yet. Julio for me would be like a week 3, week 4 type of guy if he's still struggling. So if you have Julio, start him next week. I think he'll be another guy that'll come out and try to prove himself. So yeah.
I agree.
He's got to. I know people are already discounting him, so I'm sure he's gonna come back with a vengeance.
100%.
Don't count Julio out quite yet.
Yeah. Big mistake.
What
All
you
right,
got?
Mason.
Julio.
You got somebody you've been talking about all offseason.
Yeah, I'm going to the other side of the timeline than Tedder. He has 3 names that I've just seen forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think since I've been playing fantasy almost, those 3 guys have been in there. So we're going with names that haven't been around that long. For me, and my favorite rookie, Devonta Smith, the Heisman winner last year. He's the man with the Heisman. He's a route runner in Philadelphia, already the number 1 wide receiver option, and proving why they traded up to get him. And he's going to warrant a lot of fantasy points, a lot of attention. He's not going to score 20 every week. I'm sure they had a porous Atlanta defense on him, so it's awesome to see that the guy I was so high on do so well in his first game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got to throw it to somebody.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the guy I've been on for the last, I guess this is the third year running, Scary Terry McClary. My Washington football team receiver holding it down. He had an incredible catch where I was a little worried for his body because he was bending in almost a backward C.
Did you see that? That catch of his? Oh my gosh.
The ball was behind him, but he decided to just grab it anyways, like Neo out of the Matrix.
Mason was telling me about it, and I had to check it out. Oh my gosh.
And then he pulled
I'll
it
look it
through
up
the
after this.
tackle too, so
All right.
impressive.
Yeah, you got to check that out.
All right, I'll look
Yeah.
it up.
And then Mike's kind of taking Julio's route. He snipped the dreads and starting to catch balls and maybe not get hurt on the fourth play of the game.
Mike Williams,
Mike
right?
Williams, moving on to my next guy, Mike
Okay,
Williams.
okay.
Yeah. So my third guy after Terry, Mike Williams. He's another guy I have on my Go Deep team. I actually have two of those guys. Muds didn't let me get the third, but Mike Williams had a great game. If he's going to stay healthy this year, I don't know. He's going to maybe not be their number 2 receiver. He might take over the number 1. We're going to see. Keenan is really good. So.
I don't think he's going to take it over from Keenan, but
I knew you wouldn't like me saying that.
If he stays healthy, man, that's been his thing. That's been his problem, is that he won't.
Sure.
That used to be Keenan's problem when he was first in the league.
They could
remember?
be
He was
1A, 1B.
He was always hurt those first 3 years.
I feel like Keenan is just
Keenan's the dog.
still.
They're different types of players.
He's
the
still
dog.
there. He's
But-
still. I mean, Mike Williams probably score more touchdowns. I'll say that right now. But Keenan is going to be getting 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 receptions a game. Really,
They have both of them, so that's really cool.
Sure.
I'm excited to actually see what Keenan does this year. He had a great start. 9 catches, 100 yards. Like, I love Keenan, and I think a lot of people kind of forgot about him a little bit. You know. So yeah, I'm excited
Not
to see
you?
what he does. Not me.
Who else are you not forgetting about? Who are your guys?
Well, I mean, 2 guys that I really liked watching this past weekend were a couple of these mid-round QBs we were talking about. Stafford looked great in his debut in a Rams uniform. Hurts throwing it to Devontae Smith, looking like he can complete some passes. Throwing it to Goddard in the end zone. Goddard had an amazing catch in the end zone, if you didn't see that. You know, we liked him going in this season. If you draft him, it paid off the first week. And I'd still like to kind of have a backup QB for those guys, just in case, especially Hurts because he's a runner. But they look solid. I'm excited to see where they go from here. One guy that I'm a little worried about right now is James Robinson. Just because I think Carlos Hyde got the first 4 carries in that game on Sunday. That's not really good for James Robinson. He lived off of volume last year. He lived off of it. So if he doesn't get that same volume, I don't know if he's going to return those numbers you saw last year. Obviously, he didn't really get drafted that high. He didn't get drafted he was going to repeat last year. But I think he's going to kind of stay in that RB2 range for now.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was Carlos Hyde the running back for Urban Meyer at Ohio State whenever he was there?
I think so.
So maybe some of that is there
It
for
might-
now.
Well, yeah.
Ties in, yeah.
Well, I
didn't even
think
think about that.
a lot of Carlos Hyde's coaches really like him.
Yeah.
They keep him involved, and
He's always been productive.
yeah, he's a great short yardage guy. He's not going to bust off a long one, but
Exactly.
he gets you 3-4 yards consistently.
He'll save James's health too.
Yes, which would be good.
Help.
Yeah, they definitely don't want James getting hurt. They already lost one really good
Don't
running
wanna
back.
overwork him.
Yes.
A couple other guys I'm a little worried about. Well, I guess I'm kind of worried about the Giants team in general, fantasy production-wise. Saquon, really inefficient in his first start. I'm not super worried about him yet. Obviously, he's coming off an injury. But I just really don't believe in Daniel Jones.
He won't dump it down to Saquon.
Yeah.
He's not even looking to do that. I think someone needs to get in his ear about looking really quickly. Because look, the greats always have that option right there, and Daniel just is ignoring it, it seems like to me.
And he, they were going against the Denver defense,
Yep.
so they couldn't get anything going on the ground,
Yeah.
So you kind of have to dump it off or get the ball in his hands. in
Saquon,
space.
I would try it maybe every third play.
That was what was really good about him, when he had that year.
When he
went
played with
off.
Eli, right?
Yeah, so he caught a lot out of the backfield and made a lot out of it.
Eli was much better at dumping off. I think Daniel, if he adds that to his game, he really could come along because he's not bad at a lot of the other things. But
And I think the main thing with Daniel Jones is he just cannot help but turn the ball over.
Yeah.
He fumbles
Your
a lot.
players cannot score touchdowns if their quarterback fumbles it or throws the ball away.
For sure. And I think one thing I'll add before you go to your next giant guy is that running backs really need to get a feel for the game, and I felt like they didn't do much to get Saquon really going. And I think a lot of that was like what Mason said. Dump the ball off to him. Let him get his feet wet a little bit.
Yeah.
Let the man take some hits. Let him get into the groove of the game, and then I think other things will open up. But if you don't allow a guy like Saquon, who's a heated up running back, to get heated up, you're not gonna get much.
Wait until week 3.
I know, because this week he's on a short week.
Yep.
And he's still coming
And he's
off
playing
a
my
injury.
team, so wait to learn how to dump it off to Saquon until week 3.
And Washington's one of the best defenses in the league.
Yes.
So I would be worried about starting Saquon this week.
For sure.
To be honest, I probably would end up doing it. I can't imagine you have someone better.
No way.
But yeah, another guy, Sterling Shepard, looked really good.
Really good.
I think people forgot about Shepard. He kind of got lost in the mix. I'm still not sure about him. I think he had a great game, but I'm thinking he repeats that performance maybe twice this year. And
It was a big game for him.
It was a big game, but that wide receiver core's crowded.
Slayton's there.
Slayton,
Galladay.
Galladay.
Evan Ingram's going to be coming back at some point.
Kadarius Toney there.
Kadarius Toney, yeah, just a lot of guys there, and so is he going to be able to get the same kind of targets? He broke off a big touchdown too, so you don't know if that's going to
Tied your expectations
be
with
repeatable.
Sterling.
Yeah, I would, but definitely pick him up.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely pick him
if he's
up.
there, oh yeah.
See what happens. Especially if you need a wide receiver. Go ahead and get that help.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna move on to some backfields. We're gonna talk about some crowded ones
Get back.
and some timeshare ones. All right.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's move over to Tedder. Tedder wants to talk about Houston.
Yeah, Houston, we have a minor problem because Houston's offense, obviously, take it with a grain of salt, but they look like they're going to score some points this year. It was against the Jaguars, so, like I said, grain of salt, but Tyrod is looking like Tyrod. So I'm excited about them, but that backfield is still crowded. And the one guy I think that you can maybe plug and play each week if you have to is Mark Ingram.
That's
he's
who
gonna
they look
get,
like they like. Mark
he's going to get the red zone touches.
Like
he had
20,
two,
20 carries or something.
yeah,
Didn't he?
and he had 2 touchdowns. So, he's going to score. And I think he's the one, if there's one you have to grab or have to start, he's the one I'm going with. Philip Lindsay also got in the end zone. But, same thing.
David Johnson did too.
He caught a
so,
pass to get in the end zone.
I think Houston, if you're on a bye week with your other running backs and you have a Houston running back, I think go ahead from there. But if you have better options, I wouldn't play any of those guys above those options. But if you have middle tier running backs, I think Mark Ingram's first. Philip Lindsay's probably second. And David Johnson is right behind Philip Lindsay.
How sad is that? David Johnson
I know,
is at the
right?
bottom of the barrel.
He was a
there.
fantasy monster no more than,
Number
3
one-
years ago?
Number 1 pick like 4 years ago
Yeah.
in fantasy is
And now
crazy.
he's just kind of...
Now he's
Well,
like,
the other guys he's with aren't bad.
They're not.
Exactly.
Mark Ingram's has that illustrious career.
he's
and
had a great career. I think a lot of people don't even realize that.
Yeah.
Philip Lindsay's got the upside. So
For sure, and I think, Ingram will get the red zone touches, for sure. But I think week in and week out, they'll probably feed the hot hand. So, it's hard to judge. So, like I said, if you have, a plug and play where you need to fill a guy 1 week, I think Mark Ingram's the one to go with. But you can't be wrong if you do need a sub with Philip Lindsay or David Johnson either. But like I said, tread lightly with those last two.
I think maybe you hold on to all of them and just see where it goes.
Yeah,
Just-
exactly.
I think 1 or 2 might emerge
Exactly.
above the other ones.
For sure.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay, now Mason wants to talk about the Niners backfield over here.
Niner, 49er. I do. Elijah Mitchell showed why he wants to be on the big stage. He was very productive in his fill-in. The Mostert made it not too long before he was injured, as you predicted.
2 carries, man.
I think a couple of our fam hosts predicted that. So
I got him in 1 league too, and I should have known.
how fortunate for Mitchell, who was out there because he's on special teams, to get all that work and show what he can do, because now he's going to be fighting for the top spot with Trey Sermon, the rookie they drafted higher than him, who has maybe more upside, but when you're going for production, I think you want buddies here. So
If you can get a couple of these guys.
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about Hasty though.
yeah, Hasty, I'm not worried about his. He's going to steal some goal line work. I mainly just think that those guys are even ones you can maybe trade for, and they're not going to be really expensive right now. Elijah Mitchell was just picked up out of the free agency, so people can claim he is, but once Trey Sermon's out there getting a lot of touches, I think maybe try to get both of them if he can.
One thing the Niners do is they have a committee, but there's usually one guy at the head.
Yeah.
And the question is, who's that going to be? Because any lead of the 49ers is going to do good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Who? If you had to pick one, who do you think it would be?
I'd probably pick Trey Sermon.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on that. And that's not going to help Ryan, who asked us a question about this very thing. I don't know. I just got Elijah Mitchell in my Dynasty League, so that just goes to show what I think of him. It's all about production for me. I wasn't that impressed with James Robinson physically last year, but after his production, he's one of my favorite players to go after. So
it's all about production.
It is.
And one thing you got to keep in mind with the 49ers backfield is that Jeff Wilson is coming back.
He is, yeah.
Jeff
and
Wilson
he was good. He's a good
back,
player, too. So
yeah, so, I mean, maybe for the next few
They're
weeks.
always such a committee. Buddy him while you can, but
if you got the starter, they do so good.
Yeah.
That is such a good running.
Just figure out, I don't know.
That's
Go live in
such a good
San
running
Francisco and see if you can hear something on the...
Yeah, maybe you should call up Kyle Shanahan and see what he's thinking.
Good luck. I'm sure he gets a lot
you.
of missed calls.
I'm sure he does.
So who are you looking? What backfield are you looking at, Garrison?
Well, I'm actually going to talk about the backfield I've talked about before. One I'm a fan of going forward, the Ravens backfield. Obviously, everybody knows I like Latavius Murray. I was hoping he was going to get some work in New Orleans, and he got cut, and now he's on the Ravens. He's their number 2 guy now.
Getting more work.
Tyson Williams actually looked really good, though. I'm not gonna lie. He's the one you want. He's the one you want in that backfield right now. But I believe at some point Latavius could take over the early down work, and then Tyson, he'll get his drives, and then he'll get the third down work, because Latavius really doesn't catch a lot of passes.
No.
Bell and Freeman, though, they're probably droppable unless you want to keep them around for insurance. For the other two, maybe you've got one of them. Somebody gets hurt, those guys are going to get elevated right up, and they might, be useful then. But other than that, I think you want Tyson Williams first. Latavius, definitely keep an eye on him. If you've got him, you may not want to start him unless it's in a really deep league. I'm unfortunately going to have to start him in our Go Deep league, but he might fall into the end zone again like he did last week. And that run actually looked pretty good, He's still looking like he's got some juice, so... We'll see. I like Latavius. I like Tyson Williams, and they're a really good running team, and so they're gonna have to give it to somebody. Okay, so next up, we're gonna once again do our positional leaders for the week and our sure thing. Unfortunately, I am the only one that came out with no victories last week. My Packers actually got destroyed, and so hopefully you didn't take my advice. So these guys both got their QB right. Kyler Murray was number 1 as far as a 6-point passing touchdown leagues go. Everything else is standard scoring. So they got 1 point for that, and they are both 1-0 on their sure thing. They got those right too. So hopefully they can stack up on that. Tedder is going to go ahead and go first, give you his positional leaders and his sure thing.
Cool. Positional leaders starting at the top. Quarterback. Got Patrick Mahomes this week. Pains me to pick a Chief, but I think he's going to pick apart that Baltimore Ravens secondary. Running back wise, I got a train that's going to get back on the tracks this week in Derrick Henry. I think he has something to prove going against the Seahawks this week, so I got Derrick Henry. Wide receiver, another one that I think is going to have something to prove is Devontae Adams from the Packers. They're going against the Lions, so, Aaron Rodgers is going to eat, so Adams is going to eat. And then finally, tight end, I'm going to go with the hot hand out of the old Florida State, old Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to dip in old Rob Gronkowski as my thing.
Dip up India.
Yeah.
We said Tedder getting bucked this week.
And then finally, my sure thing, the Bengals are 2.5-point dogs. So my sure thing is that the Bengals are actually going to beat the Bears this weekend. So book it.
Beat the Bears at least by 2.5, or they're dogs. So they could lose by 2 points and you still get that.
Yep.
But you think they're going to win?
I think they're going to win. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go over to Mason. What do you got?
Bears, Bengals. We're going to go over to my positional leaders. I got Patty Mahomes too. Patrick, he was the one contending with Kyler last week, and I can't pick Kyler, so I'm going with the next guy. And then 2 more Chiefs. I'm really loading up on them this week. I think the Ravens weren't showing it on their pass defense. I think Kelsey and Tyreek Hill are both going to lead the position for them.
Triple dipping.
Chiefs.
Triple dip.
If you think I'm going triple, let's go quadruple after I give you my running back, Aaron Jones.
Okay.
So we think the Packers are turning it around, it looks like, as a fam here.
Yep.
They have to.
They have to.
They're a good team. I think they just got whooped up on.
And maybe Garrison will do a little less editing and more research before he makes his sure thing pick.
No chance.
So, quadding up, the Chiefs covering over the Ravens. I think they're going to win by more than 3.5 points.
100%.
And it's going to be a high-scoring affair, and Patrick's going to load up. So
That's actually not bad.
Watch that game.
I might have overlooked that spread there. I might have.
That's what I just
clearly I do
double-checked
too much editing and not enough research.
Editorial.
Not enough research. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you my positional leaders. Hopefully I can get one this week. So I'm going to take one out of their book from last week. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray versus the Vikings.
We can't pick him. So.
You cannot pick him. And my running back is going to be Nick Chubb versus the Texans. My wide receiver, Devontae Adams versus the Lions. I just really think they're going to come out strong. Tay's going to get 2 touchdowns, 12 catches. I hope.
It's a monster day.
Yeah, monster day. And then my tight end is going to be George Kittle versus the Eagles.
Okay.
I couldn't go with Travis Kelce. And I just wasn't feeling the Waller train again this week. So, I mean, he got 19 targets. He's probably a good choice. But, yes, I'm going George Kittle versus the Eagles. And then my sure thing, and hopefully I don't do it, you guys, as bad as I did last time.
Your unsure thing.
No, I'm sure that the Bengals-Bears is going to go over 46 points.
Okay.
That is my sure thing this week, okay?
Sure. Double dip. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, well, those are our picks for the week. We'll see how we do this week. Hopefully I can catch up on these guys. So next up, we're going to go to our interview with one of our Go Deep league mates, Jackson Bailey. We're going to come right back with him. And then, we'll come back to say goodbye to you guys. All right, so we have Jackson Bailey here for an interview. He is the owner, or I guess the manager of the Dirty Birds in the Go Deep, highest scoring team this week. Good start for you, Jackson. Welcome to the show. So first off, Tedder wants to know why you're such a punk.
Well, great question, Tedder. That's basically how my dad was before me and his dad before him. So I'm just trying to live out the family name.
It's just a family thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Runs in the genes a little bit.
There you go, Tedder. All right, so on to the first real question. How long have you been playing fantasy football?
That wasn't a real question.
I guess fantasy football related question.
Okay, here we go. Fantasy football. So I started a league about 15 years ago. So I'm 31 now. Started in high school. Just a couple of good friends. Figured we'd throw a team together, see what happens. The rest is really history. I've just loved it from day one. Got in. I still have that exact same league I started. I'm in about 5 leagues now, commissioner of 2. And so I feel your pain on the constant commissioner battles that we have to deal with.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot,
Exactly.
I got 5 leagues too, and it ends up being a good amount of work.
Yeah, I just try to pick a lot of the same players in those leagues because I just get lost with some of that.
Well, if you like players at their value, you end up with a lot of the same ones too.
Exactly.
So what would you say your favorite thing about fantasy football is?
My favorite thing would probably be like feeling like you're playing a sport without actually playing a sport.
Yeah, you get to do it with a beer in hand on the couch.
Exactly. Because when I actually play a sport, I love playing, right? But I'm a little injury prone. And so this way, I save myself from the injuries. I'm basically like the Raheem Mostert of like any other sport when I play.
2 carries, you're out for the season.
Exactly. And he's actually on my team, so it works out perfectly.
Yeah.
Like,
you fell for him. That's why you drafted him.
Exactly.
You're like, I know you got this, Raheem.
I thought he'd last like 3 games. I could trade him high.
I drafted him.
But I was like, cool.
In one of my leagues too.
Yeah, 2 plays. Sweet.
2
See you later.
carries, man. I knew it was going to be at some point. I knew he was going to get injured at some point.
Yeah.
But 2 carries out for the season, I did not expect that.
Exactly.
That's
so.
unfortunate. it, but at least your team still did good. Still the highest scoring team.
Hey, we'll take it. You know, it helps when you have CMC, man.
Definitely. Yeah, you get that first overall pick. All right, so real quick question about your draft strategy. Like, how do you like to approach a draft? Like, what are your kind of what's your niche when it comes to drafting?
So the first thing I do is like check on the exact league rules. Like every league's a little bit different. Like I said, I play in 5. I have standard, PPR, tight end, premium, quarterback score differently. So I check on those rules first. So then I rank my players differently based on that, right? And then the second thing I do going into it is I don't get nervous if I don't have enough running backs, if I don't have the tight end. Like in our league, for example, it is tight end premium, but like a tight end that I wanted never fell to me. So like at one point I was looking at like maybe it was like on the 4 or 5 turn I had the first overall pick. So I had the turn coming back, and I think it was Dan. Dan's always sniping people from me.
He snipes me every
Yeah.
league.
Anyway, so he had sniped Hawkinson from me, and I really wanted Hawkinson. I was like, man, I need a tight end here. But once he was gone, there wasn't anyone else I had at that level. So I just took my best available player. I was like, okay, well, I'm not just going to reach for the next tight end just to get a tight end. I'm just going to take the best player that's left on my board. So my main thing, I guess, would be go into it, stick to your board. The players will fall to you at some point. And then if you take the best players at the end of the day, if you're a little low on running backs or whatever, you can make trades throughout because you have good players. So that's definitely always my go-to, is just stick to your board.
Yeah, I agree, man. You don't want to just fill out your positions ever. You really want to approach it best available player at the time.
Exactly.
Totally agree with that, and definitely agree with the fact that you got to know your league rules before you start. One time I had a single running back with a flex, and I ended up drafting 3 running backs, and I'm like, can't even play one of them.
Yeah, there you go. Just sitting there, enjoying the show from the bench.
Yeah, man. All right, so next we're going to talk about your Go Deep team. Jackson, you want to go ahead and tell us how you feel about your Go Deep team?
Man, I would love to. I'm sitting here, got the lights, camera, action on me. This is where the fantasy football magic happens in studio. So, yeah, I'd love to talk about my first place team over here. Gets lonely atop the mountain from time to time. But yeah, no, so obviously they've gone over what the actual roster construction is. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, and a tight end. Tight end premium, but it's also 6 points per passing touchdown as well. So I took all that into account, obviously, going into the draft. I had the number one pick. I went Christian McCaffrey, obviously, right? I had some discussions with some friends of mine that were like, maybe Derrick Henry, maybe Kamara, but I was looking over the last 3 years, and Christian McCaffrey's reeling in on prime LT numbers. So with LT, it was just a no-brainer every year. You're just don't overthink it. You just go CMC 1, take it, and then see what happens back. 16-team league, so coming back, I have no idea who's coming back to me. I, of course, love to get a tight end, but with the 6-point passing, I went with Mahomes on that turn. Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. He's basically a sure bet other than injury, so had to go Mahomes, get Mahomes in there, and then CeeDee Lamb was my other pick on that turn. Up-and-coming star, huge passing offense, Dak's back. Figured I could land those 3 in. So I got my quarterback, I got my running back, I got my receiver, right? So from that point on, I just went with best player available. I was hoping Hawkinson would fall back to me. Like I said earlier in the interview, he didn't. Went 2 picks before I got there. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going, guess who? Raheem Mostert.
Oh.
So that didn't work out for me. That's okay. I drafted quite a few running backs, so I feel confident about my depth there to recover from that. Went Mostert. At the same point, I was thinking about Hawkinson or Deebo Samuel. I have Deebo Samuel in 4 of my 5 leagues. Was big on him. every game he played last year, it was double-digit targets, full game when he's healthy. So that was the key for him, was just staying healthy.
He went off
week 1. It's very sad I didn't have him. So instead I went Mostert, got another running back in Damian Harris. Down the list we go, and just tight ends are flying off the board. Tight end premium league, right? So at a certain point, I just ditched the tight end. I just said, whatever, screw it, I'm over it. I'm just drafting best player available. Went and got Corey Davis. Figured he was going to be a target monster. Through preseason, he was getting 8, 9, 10 targets a game from Zach Wilson. And I'm like, yeah, that's his go-to guy. I got to get him. After that, it's really just dart throws. So I went Sony Michel, Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis. Went with Justin Fields. Hopefully he's starting soon, and at some point maybe someone will be looking for a quarterback. I might be able to land one of those tight ends, you know.
You did trade for a tight end already.
I did trade for a tight end with the commish himself.
Yep.
So I did get Evan Ingram.
Obviously
I started Dawson Knox week 1, waiting for Ingram to get healthy, hoping for the best there. At a certain point, though, I'm just really looking at my top tier guys to just absolutely dominate and just hope to get a touchdown from my tight end.
Yep.
You know, and I think I'm okay with that strategy. We'll see what happens. We'll see if I have to make trades. If I do, so be it.
You had Raheem Mostert, and you still were the top scoring team in the league.
So exactly.
You got a good situation right now.
Having Mahomes and McCaffrey kind of run house for you helps on that for sure.
For sure.
But yeah, I feel confident. I feel good going forward. We'll see what happens, you know, and go deep. Here we go.
Go deep. Awesome. Man, Jackson, your team is starting off strong.
We'll take it one weekend, you know.
Yeah.
If the season could just end right now, we're good. Like, I'm on
you're
top,
number
right?
one.
Woo!
Number 1 seed.
Too bad we got, what do we got, 16 more weeks of fantasy?
Oh, man. So we've got 16 more weeks, so 13 more weeks of the regular season.
There we go.
3 playoff games.
All right, I just got to, hold on for dear life. See what happens.
All right, so I got one more question for you. So if it was somebody's first fantasy football season, what advice would you give them about fantasy?
I would like a couple things. First of all, get yourself a cheat sheet, whatever site you trust, Yahoo, ESPN, Fox, whatever. Go with your cheat sheet and don't get cute with it. Don't just I'm going to trick people. I'm going to get someone way down here. If you don't know all that much about it, you're trying to get in, look at those top guys and pick between those upper echelon guys. And my second piece of advice would be go for players you like. Fantasy is meant to be fun. It's meant to just enjoy every moment, every weekend. Sundays are a holiday each weekend for me. And so, go for, you like a specific team, maybe go a couple picks early to get that guy. Because it's fun rooting for a guy you want to root for.
Yeah, for sure.
So, those two things would definitely be at the top of the list for me if you're just getting into it.
Totally. Yeah, definitely great to watch the players you like score for your team.
Right, absolutely.
I agree.
Love that.
I agree.
All about your team.
Great advice there, Jackson. All right, I do have one more question. So, what do you think about the Packers this last weekend?
Dude, I thought we weren't going to talk about this.
I mean, I just thought I'd ask, Here
I am having a good time, and you just have to ruin the whole damn interview. This.
Oh my God! Really, Jackson? Jackson. All right. Well, we want to thank Jackson for coming in for the interview. We're going to be interviewing another member of our league next week. We're not sure who yet, but we will bring somebody else in, and we'll talk to them. So, thank you, Jackson, for stopping by. Thank you, Fantasy Fam, for joining us today. Good luck with your Week 2 matchups. See you next week, fam.